it going?
Way too long.
There you go. Good round, Jake.
Check that.
Ranked Lawrence Okolie. That is who Jake Paul has been sparring with over these past few weeks.
Trouble finding Hussein Mohammed early on.
And a lot of you guys will know this because Jake Paul showed the bruises and marks on his face and said that it was Lawrence Okolie that had done that. And faces don't necessarily tell you how a spar went. Some guy can have blood all over him, he can have a busted up nose, but he still won the rounds in sparring. But I can only imagine that this week has been a very, very humbling experience for Jake Paul. In fact, the past few weeks will have been eye-opening for Jake Paul. A past few weeks where he has sparred the likes of Lawrence Okolie, of Jared Anderson, and of Frank Sanchez as well. And being that I have seen Jake Paul go life and death with Tommy Fury, you can guarantee you that Okolie, that Anderson, and that Frank Sanchez have basically manhandled Jake Paul in there. And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I mean, I don't, because then I remember the 70-odd million that he's reported to be earning at the end of this fight. But you can't deny, right, that in a world where these almost fantasy fights and whatnot are making such a shitload of cash, that Jake Paul's probably being paid in line for this fight, actually. And the reason I say he's being paid in line is because I really don't think it takes a genius to work out where I'm going with my prediction for this fight. And that is obviously, no, in fact, drum roll, please. AJ via knockout, obviously, technical knockout.
The internet didn't just blink at this one. It staggered because somewhere between training montages and confidence quotes, a whisper slipped out of a boxing gym and sprinted straight onto the timeline. Jake Paul allegedly got dropped during sparring by a heavyweight brought in to sharpen Anthony Joshua. Not clipped, not rocked, dropped, and the wild part. This didn't come from a hater's burner account or a rival's podcast rant. It leaked the way gym secrets always do. Sideways, quiet, and then suddenly, everywhere, fans were still arguing about Jake's chances when the narrative flipped from content creator turned fighter to did he just get exposed behind closed doors? Screenshots flew. Group chats lit up. And boxing Twitter turned into a crime scene investigation. People started asking uncomfortable questions immediately. If this happened in sparring, what does that mean under the lights? If a heavyweight tuned up for AJ allegedly put him down, what happens when the bell rings for real? The comparisons got reckless fast. Rocky montages turned into meme funerals. Confidence clips aged like milk, and suddenly, the bravado felt louder than the evidence. Because when sparring stories leak, they don't just bruise bodies. They bruise myths. And this one hit like a left hook nobody saw coming. The story didn't start with a punch. It started with a whisper, the kind that slides through gyms faster than sweat hits the canvas. Sparring rumors don't announce themselves. They leak, quietly at first. Then, all at once, according to people close to the camp. This wasn't some playful glove touch session meant for Instagram clips. This was real work. Real rounds. Real bodies colliding for real preparation. The kind of sparring where egos stay outside and excuses don't survive. Jake Paul has built an entire boxing narrative on control. Controlled opponents. Controlled environments. Controlled moments designed to reinforce the idea that he belongs. That's why this rumor landed so hard. It cracked the illusion. The heavyweight in question wasn't there to make Jake look good. He wasn't there for content. He was there to sharpen Anthony Joshua, a man who treats sparring like unfinished business and power like a language everyone understands. That detail matters, because when a fighter tuned to prepare a former unified heavyweight champion allegedly puts someone down, it doesn't sound like an accident. It sounds like physics reminding everyone who it answers to. The early version of the story didn't say much. Just that Jake got caught. Just that it wasn't pretty. Just that the gym went quiet in a way gyms only do. When something unexpected happens, silence like that travels. Soon the wording escalated. Dropped, replaced, rocked, knocked down, replaced, caught. And the internet did what it always does. It took the worst phrasing and ran a marathon with it. Fans immediately split into camps. One side said sparring knockdowns mean nothing, that even legends touch the canvas in training. The other side said heavyweight power doesn't lie, and gravity keeps receipts. Jake's supporters rushed in with damage control logic, big gloves, headgear, off days, bad angles, anything that could soften the implication. Critics weren't interested in nuance. They smelled blood. What made it worse was timing. Jake had been talking big. Training clips, confidence quotes, subtle jabs at doubters. The narrative was momentum, and momentum hates interruption. This rumor didn't interrupt. It derailed. People replayed old footage instantly. Clips of Jake sparring lighter opponents. Clips of him celebrating knockouts. Clips meant to prove dominance suddenly looked curated instead of convincing. Boxing fans laughed first. Then they argued. They said this is what happens when marketing collides with matchmaking. When belief outpaces experience. When confidence walks into a room that doesn't care about subscribers. Others pushed back, saying sparring stories are the oldest weapon in boxing gossip. That camps leak them strategically. That nobody knows the full context. That half the greats have been knocked out in gyms if you believe every rumor, but even they admitted. Something felt different here, because this wasn't a rival camp trash talking. This was collateral noise from someone else's preparation. Anthony Joshua's camp wasn't talking. They didn't have to. Silence carries weight when power backs it up. The story grew legs because it fit too neatly into an existing debate. Is Jake Paul improving, or is he insulated? Is he evolving, or is he being protected from the realities of elite boxing? This rumor didn't answer those questions. It amplified them. Then came the memes. People joked that Jake found out what heavyweight power feels like without a YouTube thumbnail warning. Others compared it to walking into a hurricane with a selfie stick. Harsh jokes, sharper punches. Some fans tried to flip it positively. They said getting dropped in sparring is part of growth. That adversity builds fighters. That iron sharpens iron. Critics said iron doesn't care about branding. The boxing purists weighed in next. They talked about levels, about weight classes existing for reasons, about how sparring with heavyweights isn't a lesson, it's a risk assessment. Jake's silence didn't help. No immediate denial. No clarification. No joking it off. Just training clips continuing like nothing happened. Which the internet never interprets as calm. Silence online is read as tension. As hours passed, the rumor hardened. It stopped being maybe. It became everyone knows. That's how stories mature without facts. Repetition replaces confirmation. People started speculating further. How bad was it? One knockdown or more? Clean punch or accumulation? Did they stop the session? Was it swept under the rug? None of those questions had answers. But all of them had opinions. Jake Paul has always thrived in controlled chaos. He feeds off skepticism. But this felt different. This wasn't fans doubting his legitimacy. This was boxing reality knocking, allegedly, literally. The sparring partner's anonymity only fueled curiosity. Big enough to hurt, skilled enough to be trusted with Joshua, unknown enough to become a myth. And myths spread fast. Supporters argued that if this really happened, someone would have leaked footage. Others said gym rules are strict. Phones get banned. Eyes see more than cameras. Both sides talked like experts. What lingered most was the image. Jake Paul, confident, brash, walking into a heavyweight environment built for destruction. The idea of him hitting the canvas, even briefly, shook the narrative he spent years crafting, because boxing doesn't care about arcs. It cares about moments, and sparring moments, once whispered, never fully disappear. By the end of the day, nobody knew the truth. But everyone felt the impact. The confidence wobble. The doubt creeping in. The sense that something unseen might have happened behind closed doors and in combat sports. Perception can be just as damaging as punches. The question wasn't whether Jake could recover from a sparring knockdown. Fighters do that all the time. The real question was whether the illusion of control had just taken its first real hit. And if it had, the rest of this story was about to get much louder. Once the rumor escaped the gym, it didn't walk. It sprinted. Boxing Twitter lit up like someone pulled the fire alarm. And suddenly, everyone knew someone who heard the same thing. That's how sparring stories mutate past hand to hand until they feel undeniable. Memes arrived instantly. Jake's old training clips got recaptioned like before and after ads. Rocky music played ironically over slow-motion shadowboxing. Confidence quotes were reposted with laughing emojis like they'd aged a decade overnight. Reaction channels went full emergency broadcast. Thumbnails got dramatic. Arrows pointed at imaginary knockdowns. And every title promised what really happened. Views piled up faster than explanations. Because mystery always beats clarity. The heavyweight angle made it worse. People didn't just picture a sparring mishap. They imagined Joshua-level power humming in the room, the kind that rattles rib cages and rearranges game plans. Physics doesn't negotiate, fans split into familiar trenches. One side said sparring knockdowns are Tuesday in boxing gyms. The other said weight classes exist for a reason. And this was gravity sending a reminder email. Celebrities dipped toes without diving in. A vague tweet about levels. A repost about gym stories never being simple. Fans decoded every pixel like it was Morse code, convinced meaning hid between lines. Comparisons got reckless. Some said it was like bringing a Tesla to a monster truck rally. Others joked it felt like a movie trailer where the hero loses. Early to raise stakes ebbed. This wasn't scripted. The humor masked anxiety. When preparation is serious, collateral stories feel credible by association. Industry voices chimed in with caution. They talked about sparring being a tool, not a test. About mismatches teaching lessons, but also risking narratives. About how one whisper can cost more than one punch. Meanwhile, the jokes sharpened. Comments about welcome to heavyweight weather. About no YouTube thumbnail for that. About confidence meeting a closed-door reality check. Jake's fans tried to flip the script. They said seeking hard sparring shows ambition. That iron sharpens iron. That you don't get better by playing safe forever. Critics replied that ambition doesn't excuse optics. That taking heavyweight heat before a big moment isn't bravery. It's risk management failing quietly. The debate spilled into mainstream sports chatter. Analysts argued about readiness, about matchmaking, about whether sparring with elite heavies helps timing or just tests durability. Clips of Anthony Joshua knocking out opponents resurfaced, edited next to Jake's bravado clips. Not as proof, just as contrast. The internet loves juxtaposition more than truth. What really stung was the shift in tone. The conversation moved from "can he win?" to "what happens when he gets hit by someone who can erase lights?" That's a different room entirely. Sponsors don't comment, but fans noticed energy changes. Less chest thumping, more hedging, more talk about learning experiences, Momentum doesn't like qualifiers. The rumor kept evolving. New details claimed. Old ones retracted. The course stayed the same. Something happened in sparring that shook confidence outside the gym. Boxing people shrugged and said, "This is normal." Internet people gasped and said, "This is exposure." Both sides spoke past each other. The truth probably sat in the middle, as it usually does. But middle doesn't trend. Extremes dude by nightfall. The story wasn't about a knockdown anymore. It was about control slipping, about narratives cracking, about whether the carefully built arc could handle a dent. Jake's silence became strategy, or at least it looked like one. Let it burn out. Let attention move. But attention doesn't move when stakes rise, because the next question wasn't, did it happen? It was, what does it mean if it did? And meaning is where consequences begin to form quietly before anyone notices. The room had changed. The air felt different. Confidence still spoke, but doubt had taken a seat. That's when a rumor stops being entertainment and starts becoming pressure. Pressure doesn't knock. It waits, and everyone knew the next chapter wouldn't be quiet. When the noise finally thinned, it didn't feel like resolution. It felt like recalibration, the kind that happens quietly behind closed doors when confidence has to renegotiate terms with reality. Whatever happened in that gym stopped being a rumor and became a pressure point. Public perception shifted first, and it did so unevenly. Hardcore boxing fans leaned back with folded arms, saying, "This is what happens when you touch the edges of elite power." Casual fans hesitated, unsure whether to laugh it off or take it seriously. Jake's image didn't collapse, but it bent. The invincibility pitch softened into a growth narrative. Confidence quotes still rolled out, but the reception changed. The same words landed differently once doubt took a seat in the room. Training clips kept coming, but viewers watched with new eyes. Footwork was scrutinized. Defense replayed. Every head movement slowed down like it was on trial. When perception shifts, even normal looks suspicious. Industry chatter followed. Not loud statements, just tone changes. Conversations about matchmaking grew cautious. Words like timing and development replaced bravado. That's how seriousness creeps in quietly, politely, without headlines. The heavyweight detail lingered like a shadow. People didn't forget that the sparring partner was tuned for Anthony Joshua. That association alone kept the rumor alive. Power by proximity is still power in the public imagination. Some fans reframed the story as necessary adversity. They said getting checked early saves you later. That learning happens fastest when it hurts. The argument sounded mature, but maturity doesn't erase optics. Critics pressed harder. They said if a closed-door moment can rattle the narrative, what happens under lights, with cameras, and consequences that don't reset between rounds? The question stuck because nobody could answer it definitively. Jake's camp stayed disciplined. No drama, no counterpunch online. Just work. To supporters, that looked professional. To skeptics, it looked like avoidance. Silence never reads the same to everyone. Meanwhile, the internet moved on the way it always does, partially. Another story trended. Another argument erupted. But this one didn't disappear. It waited, bookmarked in memory, ready to resurface with the next clip. That's the danger of gym stories. They don't need proof to survive. They live in what if, and what if has legs. Every future performance invites comparison to an unseen moment. The boxing world knows this rhythm. Fighters get dropped in gyms all the time. It doesn't define careers. What defines careers is how narratives stick when audiences aren't used to nuance. Jake's situation sits right there. Between normal boxing reality and amplified internet mythology. Between growth pains and brand pressure. Between learning curves and headline expectations, sponsors and partners don't announce recalculations, but fans sense them. The energy shifts subtly. Less chest thumping, more patience. That's not weakness, it's adjustment. But adjustment changes the vibe. The biggest impact wasn't physical. It was psychological on the audience. Belief wobbled, not shattered, just nudged. And belief is the fuel that powers hype machines. Opponents will smell it. Critics will sharpen it. Supporters will defend it. That's how these moments ripple outward, touching fights that haven't even been announced yet. The rumor also reframed the conversation about levels, about why weight classes exist, about why sparring choices matter, about how bravado and preparation don't always share the same pace. For Jake, the path forward didn't close. It narrowed. Focus replaced spectacle. Discipline replaced noise. Or at least that's how it looks from the outside. The irony is that this might help him. Pressure clarifies. Doubt forces details. Fighters either respond or retreat. There's no middle ground once the questions are asked. The audience will watch differently now. Not hoping for failure, but waiting for answers. Every round becomes a referendum. Every exchange a test of what the rumor really meant. That's the weight of boxing stories that never get confirmed or denied. They hover. They haunt. They return at the worst times. This chapter didn't end with a knockout. It ended with a pause. A recalibration of expectations. A quiet reminder that closed-door moments can echo louder than public ones. If nothing else, the leak did one thing perfectly. It reminded everyone that boxing isn't a brand exercise. It's a collision sport that punishes assumptions. And assumptions were everywhere. The next time Jake steps in, Sprished Health will still be there. So will the doubt. That combination is dangerous and powerful at the same time. Because when confidence and skepticism share